Hello and welcome to another video of anime nobody ever talks about anymore. Because people nowadays have, you know, they don't watch the classics anymore. I do want to give a shout out that there's actually a few people on YouTube that are talking about the classics and doing lots of reviews. I didn't know there were people doing that because it's just a lot of these classic anime and manga are not talked about that much anymore, which is a shame because they're very very good. So I'll say I have to give kudos to those people that are doing that. Yeah, they have small audiences, but I mean, because they're not doing that the more popular things like Attack on Titan or One Piece. But it's good to have people that are doing that thing. It's kind of like what I'm doing. So I'm gonna review Geneshaft. I finished it earlier today. It has to do with it's the future, and humans have decided to get rid of emotional attachments, and because they feel that it gets in the way towards the survival of humans. It makes them make bad decisions. So in the story in the world of Geneshaft, humans have been created by the government through using DNA banks. So a person can be made multiple times, and the story revolves around. I'm really bad at names, but the girl in the side, I think, girl in the red right here. So she kind of tries to question everything because some of the humans still kind of have morals, I guess you could say, or have ethic. They think about ethics and morals, and some people are by glitches they still get blood relatives and they form an attachment. But the people who are in charge, they don't see the value in it. And so, for example, when Tiki's brother dies, the captain's like, "Well, we can just clone him," or it might have been her case, but and I mean twice in the film when one of the characters died, the captain says, "Well, we can just clone the person." But the person says, "No, you can't just clone the person. That's not the person that I knew. It, it's just a carbon copy, you know." And of course, because these people that are in charge have been raised to not be attached to anybody or get close to anybody, they don't understand what the person is saying. So neither of them understand each other. And there's an episode halfway through this where the rings, which are basically like the angels, if you've watched Evangelion, except they're all rings, or that one, they're probably based off that one angel that was a giant ring in the sky. But anyway, these rings kind of pop up and they have to fight them. And they transported this group of astronauts from the 21st century to the 23rd century. And when the astronauts get there, uh, they their ideas collide with the ideas of the people on the ship because the astronauts they're like me and you. They know about like love and how to procreate and about kissing. And these characters have no idea what they're talking about. Like there's a part where one of the astronauts kisses the woman in the blue with the blue hair, and she's like, "What are you doing? Like, why are you giving me mouth to mouth?" Like, and she didn't, to her it didn't make sense what he was doing at all because she doesn't know the concept of kissing. And the astronauts, the one that smokes, tells Sai, he's like, "I hope you can find more things to believe in than DNA," because he sees how people just don't value life in this world, and then the rings end up transporting them. I'm assuming back to their timeline, unless it's because the ship went too. I don't think they died. And there's another character called Mario who has he he has this similar idea where he kind of wants to question because he wants to know what love is. And these captains have registers which are basically like mindless drone like slaves that are made just to do whatever they say. And he kind of tries to make his register more human again, and asks her things like, do you know what love is?" And holds her close and says like, can you feel what does this make you feel when I hold you close?" And he kind of triggers his own registers memories because they're suppressed. I think the name of that one is Beatrice. So Beatrice has a really good character development. I think the best character development of all the characters. How she is this mindless drone slave like person that helps the captain to being able to think for herself, gaining emotions, learning to cry, learning to love. And I really liked how her character progressed. But Mario unfortunately died. And the person that created this also created Escaflowne. And so there's similarities to the characters. Like Tiki is basically the Merle. Gene is the Dylan Dow. But I like the one I like Gene in this anime because he's a I mean, the creator had Dylan Dow in mind when made him because they're very similar. Except this guy is not afraid of death. So when Mario confronts him and traps him, and he is about to blow himself up, and Gene sees that there's no way to escape, and Mario's like, "Well, are you ready for for death to move on to learn what love is or something?" And then Dylan now looks kind of worried at first. I mean, Dylan now, but Gene looks kind of worried at first, but then he smiles and says, "Show me," and then they both blow up. I mean, that was a pretty cool death scene in my opinion. And towards the end, they're trying to figure out where the rings are coming from, and they get traced to this moon. And then there's another captain who is immortal, and he has this plan to wipe out humanity by making the rings that are controlled by a certain moon embrace the sun and cause a blackout. And Sei drives this thing called the Shaft. It's like a giant robot, and she uses that to fight them or fight the rings. The Shaft tends to do things, tends to act on its own, and it's unknown why. Like Saya will use it against the rings; it'll shut off because it keeps crashing, and then beyond her control, it'll like reboot back up and use like an attack that's not in the registry file. This confuses the coders or the programmers, and it happens again towards the end where it uses an attack that circles the planet that controls the rings and basically causes the rings to all disappear, and they kind of revive the planet to make it look like Earth. And so in the end, they pretty much save everything, and then the captain, who was also like very drone-like and apathetic in the beginning, learns to be more emotional, and he ends up getting close to Sai. So it had a pretty good ending. Well, it had a happy ending. I don't know if it was a good ending, but it had a happy ending, and it was satisfactory. And the music of Geneshaft is pretty cool. It's heavy metal. So if you've played the game Thunder Force 4, it's along the same lines. It also has a remix album that has some songs that also appear in the anime that are pretty good. But that's what I think about Geneshaft. I really enjoyed Geneshaft. It's made by the guy that made Escaflowne, so I'll be looking at another one of his works in the future. Or I guess a few more, because he did quite a few more.